City of Stevens Point Plan Commission meeting, recorded September 7, 2023.
So we have 6 o'clock, so in the absence of Mayor Wiesa, I'll call the September 7th, 2023 meeting of the City Plan Commission, and we'll start with a roll call. Wiesa is excused. Kneebone?
Here.
Artson?
Here.
Beacom is excused. Cooper?
Here.
Rice?
Here.
And Schuler.
Here.
All right, then like I said, in the absence of a chair, item number 2 will be the selection of a temporary chairperson for this meeting. And I'd like to entertain any nominations.
I'll enthusiastically nominate Commissioner Cooper.
All right, any other nominations? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Dave, this is your meeting.
Okay, thank you. Moving right along, agenda item 3 is a report of the August 7th, 2023 meeting of the City Plan Commission. Those minutes were provided. Commissioners.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Schuler,
Second.
seconded by Rice.
I wasn't here.
So the motion is to approve. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. Motion carries. Agenda item number 4 is a public hearing and action on a request from Ryan Wanta, representing SPB LLC, for a conditional use permit to construct an addition onto an alcohol production facility located at 2617 Water Street, parcel identified, consistent with Chapter 23.02, Sub 3A, 3S, and Chapter 23.02, Sub 3A, 4. Adam?
Thank you, Dave. So the request before you is to construct addition onto an existing malt building, approximately 1,572 square feet in size. Just for context, so you can see an aerial view of the brewery complex, this malt building will be this smaller building, more on the far southern end of the property adjacent to Water Street. So the purpose of this addition is to add on again to this malt building for the purposes of having a new tap room and retail shop within the entire malt building. So the purpose for this request is twofold. One, alcohol production facilities and any accessory uses to those are considered a conditional use within the M1 Light Industrial Zoning District, the zoning designation for the property. The second reason is more development specific. So for this subject property, for the M1 Light Industrial District, there is a minimum street setback of 30 feet. However, for some of our higher intensity zoning districts, our commercial, our industrial zoning districts, there is a provision in our zoning code that says there's a property that abuts 2 or more streets. For any future development, an applicant can apply for a conditional use permit to ask for a lesser street setback from one of those street lot lines. So in this case, again, 30 feet is the required setback off of Water Street, and the applicant is requesting a street setback of 25 feet 9 inches, which would be consistent with the setback currently provided off of the malt building. So going a little bit further, you can see the proposed site plan, again, the malt building, and then the area shaded in yellow will be the proposed addition, and then interior layout of the full building, existing plus the addition. So a couple things that I want to point out before kicking it back to the commission, just since I think it'll be relevant in the context of this discussion. First is the land use of the subject property relative to the surrounding area. You can see the subject property obviously is used for industrial purposes, and it's adjacent to single-family residential homes to the north, east, and southeast. Generally speaking, is that the best dichotomy in terms of adjacent land uses, light industrial to single-family residential? Not necessarily the case. However, it's important to note really the historic development pattern of industry kind of in the early settlements of a city like Stevens Point here. So it was pretty consistent at the time where industry popped up in a defined residential neighborhood, and those who lived around that place of industry generally worked for that establishment. Naturally, that's not the case over time. As our transportation network grows, you see today people are living a lot farther away from their place of employment relative to the early 20th century. So with that in mind, for some of the previous planned expansions of the brewery, which was brought before this commission over the last few years, there were added safeguards added to address just that. This industrial use next to single-family residential uses. Some examples would be the installation of 6-foot privacy fencing that you see more on the south end of the property, abutting those residential land uses along Water Street and Matilda Street. There's also this vacant green space that you see in the site photos between the existing beer garden and the far southeast lot line to provide that natural buffer between the brewery complex and those adjacent residential homes. And then lastly, architectural appeal. You know, it's one of those standards that sometimes gets overlooked, but especially in the case of the brewery being a long-standing staple here in the community. You know, an added emphasis is arguably had towards the architectural appeal of this building addition, namely making sure that this addition complements but doesn't detract or try to mimic the existing appeal of the brewery complex. So with that said, staff would recommend approval, and we do have the applicant and some folks from the brewery here in attendance to answer any questions.
Okay, so before we open the public hearing, commissioners, do you have any questions for Adam clarifying? Okay. With that, I will now declare the public hearing open. If you wish to give testimony, please come up to the lectern and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Ryan Wanta. My address is E1750 King Road in Wapaka, Wisconsin. I'm here representing my clients, Stevens Point Brewery, and our proposed expansion. What we envisioned is not anything that would be too distracting from the historical nature of the property, but also not being too fake historical, which I know is something that, is part of the agenda in the downtown district as well. So even though this is not a part of a downtown district, we still kind of hold the same beliefs, and we look really forward to opening the doors here. So I don't know if anybody has any questions specifically directed at me for this project.
We can take those outside of the public hearing.
Okay.
But I'll ask the commission once the public hearing is closed.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
Others, the public hearing is still open?
No, just Maria.
For a second time, the public hearing is open. And for a third and final time, the public hearing is open. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, I'll declare the public hearing closed and bring it back to the commission. Commissioners, we need a motion to get this to the floor.
I'd make motion to approve the conditional use permit per staff recommendations and conditions.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Schuler. Discussion. Questions for the applicant? Anything yet?
I just have a comment. It's a really nice-looking project, and I think it's going to be a great addition to the city and to the brewery, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it turns out, so congratulations on being able to do that.
Other comments, questions?
Just maybe touching on Adam's point about industry and residential areas, and this is an existing condition. It's not necessarily real heavy industry, and the brewery has been there for a while, and I think has kind of settled into the neighborhood, or vice versa. So I can see certainly the reason to discourage expansion of industries, but I think this one is fine.
Anything else? Okay. Seeing nothing else, the motion on the floor is to approve with staff recommended conditions. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Agenda item 5 is a request from the City of Stevens Point to purchase an unaddressed parcel adjacent to Jefferson Street and LaSalle Avenue, parcel identified. Adam.
Thank you, Dave. So the parcel that Dave mentioned that's identified in the packet would be this 40-acre parcel directly southeast of the Old Cops and Walmart redevelopment project and directly east of the Hunter Oak subdivision. So as outlined within the staff report, or within the agenda packet, the intention of purchasing this property is for creating residential lots. Naturally, should the request to purchase be approved by this body, finance, and the council, there'll be further conversations, or there'll be further requests brought before this commission as it relates to, lot splits, what's going to be the zoning classification, lot sizes, things like that. But just wanted to let you know that the intention is for this property to be for residential purposes, which is in alignment with our extraterritorial future land use plan.
Comments or questions first? I guess actually we probably need a motion. So we're just talking about the purchase here. Mary?
We've talked a lot about the city kind of controlling our own destiny, so I'll move to approve the purchase.
Second? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Pete? Discussion?
I guess I just have a comment or question. I don't know how thorough of an analysis we've done on groundwater in that area. Obviously, on your future land use map, you've got a little bit of indication of the kind of depth, the shallow depth of groundwater that Town of Hull neighborhood directly to the north, I know is very wet. The vast majority of those private septics are mound system septics. Any concerns from the city, or have they done a fair amount of investigation kind of into that, I guess?
Yeah, no concerns at this time. There's been pretty extensive conversations with Director Lemke and his staff as it relates to that northeast quadrant.
Yep, okay, thanks.
Anything else from the commission? Anything from the audience or online? Okay, seeing nothing, the motion on the floor is to approve. So all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Agenda item 6 is the June and July 2023 monthly reports.
Nothing too crazy of note. Both June and July, there's been a fair amount of permits pulled in regards to mobile home projects, the one off of Water Street, and then the second one during the month of July being off of Torrin. And the second thing I'll note, earlier in July, we did issue the permit for the duplex project off of Patch in Minnesota that was approved by this commission late spring, early summer, I believe. That otherwise pretty steady summer and likely to continue on in the month of September.
Okay. I will move to accept the report and place it on file.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mary. Comments or questions for staff?
Keep doing what you're doing.
All right, the motion is to approve and place on file. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. And with that, agenda item 7, our agenda is exhausted, and we adjourn at 6:13.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.